Hello, granddaughter.
Hello.
Hey, today we're going to talk about my father, your great-grandfather, and how he got into the coin business that he taught me. And that's what I did for a living. And that's how I supported our family. So I thought you might like to hear about that. What do you think, Lana?
I think it's going to be a very interesting story. What did your dad do before coins? Did he come out of the gate into coins, or was there something before that?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. Actually, he got into the coin business in a funny way. He got into the vending machine business, and he started a route where he bought machines and he went around stores and he'd put gumball machines and people would pay pennies in. And back then they didn't really have nickels because nickels machines they were pretty expensive. So these are only penny machines. But my father would go around and he'd get all these pennies and he'd look through them and he started coin collecting. He would go through the coins that he'd get out of the machines. And he'd find all sorts of different kinds of coins. He'd find Indian hip pennies and other kinds of coins. And sometimes he even found dimes in there because they didn't look like a regular dime because they were really old. So he ended up seeing these old coins in there and he got interested in them. And then he started looking through all the coins. And eventually he started making some pretty good money. You know what he did then? Well, then he started going through coins at banks. Because he would go to small towns with these vending machines. Then he found that not a lot of these people in these small towns have gone through the coins. So then he did that. Well, then my father got enough money up doing that he started a vending machine company.
Wow.
And he manufactured gumball machines, believe it or not, because he was really into it. So but he wasn't really doing the routes anymore. So after he had the gumball machines, he made enough profit from the gumball machines to start his own manufacturing of gumball machines. But eventually, he was making more money going through the coins than he was making with his company. So he sold the company, took that money, and started in the coin business, which he really enjoyed the hobby, so he was doing something he really loved, and he was making a living at the same time. Well, what happened was that I grew up with it, so when I was about 8 years old, I started going through coins, and he taught me coins, the business of coins. And I used to fly all over the country with him. I used to go to maybe 20 coin shows a year with him throughout the United States. And I would sit back and behind the tables and show the people coins. I would open up a case, and I'd pull out a coin they want to look at. And that's what was my job. I didn't know too much about coins and the prices and values, but I could certainly do those type of things.
Well, you're going to start somewhere. So obviously he thought that you might be good at it, and he brought you in as a chance for you to kind of hang out with him too and get to know the business.
Yes, and I apparently I was the only brother. See, there were 7 of us, and I was the only one that really took to the coin business. Because I had these handicaps, I really was sort of forced into it because that was the only thing your grandpa could do because he couldn't read or write. So that's how I got into the coin business because I really couldn't do too much else to make a good living, not a really good living. And so that was a pretty good living for us.
Yeah, and your dad was, keen on it, seeing that you had these handicaps. I think he must have seen you needed a little direction, and he probably thought you would be really good at it.
Yes, I think he was very tolerant of me because I was all these handicaps I had.
So you had a pretty good relationship with your dad?
Yes, most of the time. Any parent in relationship with their children sometimes go awry.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. But that's nice that you got to spend that time with him and he taught you everything that you knew.
Yes.
And you became really successful just by, being with your dad. That's really an inspirational story.
Yeah, I was fortunate.
Yeah. I don't think people know too much about coins. What makes a coin more special than any other coin?
Well, it's really the rarity and the condition of it.
Okay.
And it's sort of a complicated subject because the problem is you have to really be an expert in coins because you could have one coin in one grade and it looks like exactly in the same grade by the normal eye. But this one coin could be worth $25 and this coin could be worth $25,000.
Wow.
It's the same coin, but not that much difference, but just a few marks make it quite a bit of difference.
Wow.
And that's what makes them rare. So you could have a lot of them made, but there's maybe not any real high quality ones. So the quality and rarity was a combination.
Okay. I remember you telling me briefly about a story about a coin from your family being in space.
Oh, yes.
That's impressive.
Well, my father was a professional dealer. He dealt with some pretty high-end people. So my father started dealing with these astronauts. Well, he dealt with the first one, and then 2 or 3 of the astronauts started buying coins from him. So he was selling them coins, and they became friends. He talked to him on the phone. Well, what happened is that he asked them if they could take this very rare coin up in space. Now, I'm going to tell you how rare it was. It sold in auction for $80,000 not that long ago, and it was the first rare coin in outer space. It was a 1793 penny. It was the first U.S. penny ever issued.
Wow, that's a really awesome story. That's cool.
And they had pictures of it in space and holding it up, and it was all documented. And it was really a wild auction.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
Wow. Well, I was really glad that we got a chance to hear your stories. You always have the most fascinating stories. And Marlo, I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about your grandfather and your great-grandfather, because it was very interesting.
Well, I'm glad you like it, and I hope you really like it. And I hope you remember these, and maybe someday you'll show them to your children too.
We'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.